What if the very thing you're running from is the exact thing that will set you free? Right now, there are dreams inside you that are suffocating. Not because you can't achieve them, but because you're afraid of failing, afraid of being judged, afraid of looking foolish, afraid of starting and not winning immediately. But listen closely, failure is not your enemy. Fear is. Today, that fear ends. Because once you understand what failure truly means, you will never be the same again. Number 1, failure is feedback, not a final verdict. Failure is not a final verdict on who you are or what you're capable of becoming. It is information, guidance, and feedback delivered in a form most people misunderstand. When something doesn't work, life isn't rejecting you, it's responding to you. It's showing you what needs to be refined, strengthened, or approached differently. The moment you label failure as a permanent judgment, you stop listening. But when you see it as feedback, you stay in the game. You remain flexible, aware, and hungry to improve. Every setback contains data, and those who succeed are simply the ones who know how to read it instead of running from it. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or intelligence. They fail because they attach their identity to the outcome. One missed goal becomes, I'm not good enough. One rejection becomes, I'm not meant for this. That mindset turns feedback into fear. But feedback is neutral. It has no emotion until you give it one. It's not saying stop. It's saying adjust. It's pointing out where your strategy, timing, preparation, or focus needs to evolve. When you separate who you are from what happened, you gain the power to improve without breaking your confidence. Progress has always been built on imperfect attempts. Every skill you admire was once awkward, uncomfortable, and flawed in its early stages. Failure is simply the gap between where you are and where you want to be made visible. Without that visibility, growth becomes guesswork. Feedback sharpens awareness. It forces you to confront reality instead of fantasy. It demands responsibility, discipline, and a willingness to change. That is why failure is uncomfortable. It pushes you out of denial and into truth. The strongest individuals don't avoid failure. They analyze it. They ask better questions instead of making excuses. What worked? What didn't? What must change next time? Each answer strengthens clarity and direction. Over time, what once felt like repeated failure becomes accelerated learning. You stop fearing mistakes because you understand they are part of the process, not proof of inadequacy. Confidence grows not from always winning, but from knowing you can recover, adapt, and move forward no matter the outcome. When you treat failure as feedback, persistence becomes intelligent rather than stubborn. You stop repeating the same mistakes and start refining your approach. You gain emotional resilience because your self-worth is no longer tied to immediate results. Every attempt, successful or not, moves you closer to mastery because it teaches you something valuable about yourself, your strategy, and the reality you're operating in. Number 2, growth begins the moment. Comfort ends. Growth does not begin when things feel safe, predictable, or easy. It begins the moment comfort ends and uncertainty takes over. Comfort is seductive because it feels like stability, but in reality, it is often stagnation in disguise. When you stay where things are familiar, you repeat the same behaviors, make the same choices, and produce the same results. Nothing new is demanded from you, and because nothing new is demanded, nothing new is developed within you. Growth requires pressure, and pressure only appears when you step beyond what you already know how to handle. The moment you feel uncomfortable is the moment your potential is being activated. Discomfort is not a warning sign, it is an invitation. It signals that you are stretching beyond old limits, challenging outdated beliefs, and confronting parts of yourself that comfort kept hidden. Every new level of success requires a new level of thinking, discipline, and emotional strength. Those qualities are not built in ease. They are forged in moments when quitting feels tempting and self-doubt starts to speak louder than confidence. Comfort keeps you protected, but protection is not the same as progress. Inside your comfort zone, there is no urgency to improve, no reason to adapt, and no motivation to grow stronger. Outside of it, you are forced to learn quickly, make decisions under pressure, and develop resilience. You discover what you're truly capable of when the safety net disappears, and you must rely on your mindset, effort, and determination to move forward. Every breakthrough in your life will come from a season where things felt unfamiliar and challenging. Growth asks you to let go of who you've been so you can become who you need to be. That transition is rarely comfortable because it requires discipline over convenience and courage over certainty. The discomfort you experience is evidence that you are in motion, evolving rather than settling, expanding rather than shrinking. People who grow the most are not fearless. They are willing to act despite discomfort. They understand that comfort is a place to rest, not a place to live. Each time they choose challenge over ease, they build confidence rooted in experience, not wishful thinking. Over time, what once felt uncomfortable becomes normal, and a new edge appears, demanding the next level of growth, the next stretch, the next decision to step forward instead of staying where it feels safe. Number 3, every winner failed more than others tried. Every winner failed more times than most people ever tried, and that truth alone separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck dreaming. Success is not built on a flawless record. It is built on repeated attempts, constant rejection, and the willingness to keep moving forward when results are slow or non-existent. While many people stop after their first loss, winners keep going, not because it feels good, but because they understand that effort compounds. Each attempt adds experience, clarity, and resilience, even when the outcome looks like failure on the surface. Most people overestimate how much failure they can tolerate and underestimate how much effort success actually demands. They try once or twice, feel discomfort, face criticism, and quietly step back into safety. Winners, on the other hand, normalize failure as part of the journey. They expect it. They prepare for it mentally. They don't see repeated failure as embarrassment. They see it as evidence that they are in motion while others are standing still. Every failed attempt is proof of courage, while inaction produces nothing but excuses. Failure sharpens decision-making and strengthens character in ways comfort never can. Each loss teaches what doesn't work, saving time in the long run. Each setback builds emotional endurance, training the mind to stay focused under pressure. Winners fail fast, learn quickly, and return stronger. They don't romanticize failure, but they don't fear it either. They respect it as a necessary cost of mastery. The path to excellence is not a straight line. It is a series of adjustments made by those who refuse to quit. Those who eventually win understand that trying is a skill that must be exercised. Repeated effort builds momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Confidence is not born from success alone. It grows from surviving failure and realizing you can handle more than you thought. With each attempt, hesitation weakens and commitment strengthens. What once felt impossible becomes manageable, then achievable, then inevitable. The difference between winners and everyone else is not talent, luck, or intelligence. It is volume of effort over time. Winners show up when motivation fades. They attempt when others hesitate. They fail where others never risk anything at all. By the time success arrives, it looks effortless from the outside, but behind it lies a history of setbacks that most people would never tolerate or even attempt to face. Number 4, fear of failure is the real failure. Fear of failure is the real failure because it stops progress before it ever begins. It doesn't wait for you to fall. It convinces you to stay still. While failure teaches, fear paralyzes. It whispers doubt, magnifies risk, and turns imagination against you by replaying worst-case scenarios that haven't even happened. When fear of failure takes control, potential never gets tested, skills never develop, and opportunities quietly pass by without resistance. This fear is rarely about the failure itself. It's about judgment, rejection, and the stories you tell yourself about what failure means. One mistake becomes a label. One setback becomes a permanent identity. Fear convinces you that failing will expose weakness, when in reality avoiding action is what keeps weakness alive. The mind seeks safety, but growth demands courage. The longer fear controls decisions, the more convincing it becomes, creating a cycle where inaction reinforces insecurity and insecurity strengthens fear. Real failure happens when you let fear decide your limits. You begin negotiating with your own potential, settling for what feels safe instead of what feels meaningful. Dreams shrink into preferences and goals become distant ideas rather than active pursuits. Fear doesn't scream. It whispers reasonable excuses, disguising itself as patience, planning, or waiting for the right moment. Over time, those excuses become habits, and those habits shape a life defined by avoidance rather than intention. Action breaks the grip of fear. The moment you move forward despite uncertainty, fear loses authority. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the result of repeated action in its presence. Each step taken proves that fear was exaggerating, that discomfort is survivable, and that failure is not fatal. The mind adapts quickly when it sees evidence of resilience, and what once felt terrifying becomes manageable through experience. Those who overcome fear of failure are not immune to doubt. They have simply learned not to obey it. They understand that failure is an event, not an identity, while fear is a choice reinforced by hesitation. By choosing action over avoidance, they reclaim control over their direction and self-belief. Progress resumes the moment fear is challenged because growth requires movement, and movement exposes fear for what it truly is, a barrier that only exists as long as it is obeyed. Number 5, pain is temporary, regret is permanent. Pain is temporary, but regret has a way of echoing through a lifetime. Pain shows up in moments of effort, discipline, and risk. It arrives when you push beyond what's familiar, when you challenge habits that once kept you comfortable, and when you face resistance from both the world and yourself. This kind of pain is sharp but brief, tied to action and growth. It fades as strength increases and capability expands, leaving behind experience and resilience. Regret, on the other hand, is quiet and persistent. It doesn't come from trying and failing. It comes from never trying at all. Regret lives in unanswered questions and unfulfilled potential, in moments where fear made decisions for you and comfort took priority over courage. It grows over time, fed by the awareness of what could have been if action had been taken. While pain demands attention in the moment, regret lingers in reflection, often appearing when opportunities are no longer available. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, not realizing they are choosing regret instead. Avoiding discomfort feels safe in the short term, but it slowly builds a life of limitation. Every time you choose ease over effort, you reinforce the belief that you are not capable of more. Pain from discipline strengthens you, while pain from regret weakens you by reminding you of missed chances. One leads to growth, the other leads to self-doubt. Temporary pain carries purpose. It signals effort, commitment, and the willingness to invest in something greater than immediate comfort. Whether it's the pain of learning a new skill, facing rejection, or starting over after a setback, it serves as proof that you are in motion. Regret carries no such benefit. It offers no lessons that can be applied, only reminders of hesitation and lost time. Unlike pain, regret cannot be trained away through effort. It can only be prevented through action. Those who understand this choose pain with intention. They accept discomfort as a necessary part of becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable. They know that today's effort protects them from tomorrow's regret. By embracing temporary pain, they build lives filled with experience instead of excuses, action instead of avoidance, and memories of courage rather than questions about what might have happened if they had tried. Number 6, action turns failure into power. Action turns failure into power because movement changes meaning. Failure without action becomes a wound. Failure followed by action becomes wisdom. When you act, you take control of the narrative. You stop allowing setbacks to define you and start using them as fuel. Action shifts failure from something that happens to you into something that works for you. The moment you move forward again, failure loses its grip and transforms into experience, insight, and strength. Most people don't fear failure itself. They fear what it says about them. Action dissolves that fear by creating evidence of resilience. Each time you take action after a setback, you prove to yourself that you are bigger than the moment that tried to stop you. Power is not built in reflection alone. It is built in repetition. Acting again rewires confidence, teaching the mind that recovery is possible and progress is still within reach. Failure reveals weaknesses, but action is what strengthens them. Without action, failure remains a memory that drains energy. With action, it becomes a lesson that sharpens focus and strategy. You begin to see patterns, correct mistakes, and approach challenges with greater clarity. Momentum grows not from perfect results, but from consistent effort. Each step forward adds pressure to fear and reduces its influence, replacing hesitation with determination. Action also restores belief. Doubt thrives in stillness, but it struggles to survive in motion. When you act, even imperfectly, you activate problem solving, creativity, and adaptability. You stop asking whether you're capable and start discovering how capable you actually are. This process builds inner authority, the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can handle setbacks because you've done it before. Those who turn failure into power understand that waiting for confidence is a trap. Confidence is a byproduct of action, not a prerequisite. They act while uncertain, learn while moving, and adjust while advancing. Over time, what once felt like defeat becomes the foundation of strength. Failure stops being an emotional burden and starts becoming a resource, something to draw from rather than run from, because every action taken after failure compounds courage, clarity, and control over one's own direction. Fail if you must, but never freeze in fear. Every step forward turns struggle into strength. Your power is built in motion, not perfection. Act again and become unstoppable.